Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want.
Episode 94.
Hi, this is Wendy Williams, and marriage happiness is way possible. ConnectAgain.org is very happy to sponsor Mighty Married Moms. We are partners in bringing you closer to the life you really want. Visit us today for marriage boosts at ConnectAgain.org.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. I'm Wendy Williams from ConnectAgain.org.
I'm Linda Ty from All Well Breaks Loose.
And Debbie Owen from You Can Raise Great Kids.
And you can find our podcast on MightyMarriedMoms.com. I just need to tell you that we just had a great conversation with Pam Formosa and Christina Schluff, and they are the heads of Brain Fit Academy right out here in Massachusetts.
Yep.
And I learned tons about how the human brain works.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Tons.
And how things that show up in kids' lives like ADHD, Asperger's, neuroprocessing, was that what that's called?
Yeah.
Integration processing issues, all these different things can actually have a very positive jump forward with a very simplistic approach, which is using the body itself to recircuit the brain and make things work better.
Specific
movements
that may have not gotten used properly and developed properly. You know, if you skip steps, those kinds of things can have impacts on your brain. And we've actually known this for a while,
Right.
but the fact that they've developed this business that's having such a profound impact is tremendous.
So these parents that are kind of going in 8 directions, or they just can't figure out what, the medicine's not working, or talk therapy's not working, or whatever it is that they've tried, then they show up with these 2 women who really talk with the child themselves and the parents, and they get this movement therapy going, and all of a sudden things are just so much better within a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's the neuroplasticity, or how the brain actually can be changed and retooled is just fascinating.
It is, and I think most of us, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of us have just thought, as you said during our conversation, your brain is your brain is your brain. You're born with the brain that you have, and you really don't change it. Right? Brain cells can die and be killed, right? I'm just saying that's what most people think that, right?
Yeah.
And it's not true. It's not true at all.
Not true at all.
Not true at all.
Yeah.
No.
The research over the last 10 to 15 years has proven, without a shadow of a doubt, and we talked about this with Brian Post when he was here. We talked
That's
about
right.
the decade of the brain, that it is plastic, it changes constantly. I talk about this a lot on my website too.
Yeah.
And you can change.
Well, it isn't literally plastic,
No.
but it's as malleable, as
That's a
warm
good way to do it.
plastic can be. It's
Yeah.
not fixed, which is the way that we kind of grew up. Like, a personality's never going to change, or, oh, she's always been crabby, she'll be crabby the day she dies. No, we can. We
Right.
have an ability to make an impact on our own selves, and other people. These practitioners can come alongside and help us reintegrate and retool our neurological system in really positive ways.
Here's some good images to understand how that works. Let's say you've got a big yard, and you've got a couple of cows out in the backyard, right? And there's this favorite tree they have off in the distance, and they like to go lie underneath that tree. So they go walk out from the barn straight out to that tree, day after day after day after day. And you've got a path from the barn out to underneath that tree.
A groove.
A groove, yeah. You can actually see where you've got that path. Now, let's say somebody cuts that tree down, and the cows realize that, oh, that tree's not going to give me the shade that I need anymore. But you know what? There's another tree that's over here. So instead of going on that old path, now they create a new path, and they go on that same new path day after day after day, and now we've got a new path.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens in our brains. If you've got a pattern or a habit that you're reinforcing over and over and over again, you've created a pathway in your brain. And yet if you decide, no, I don't want to keep doing that same pattern anymore, I don't want that habit anymore, I want to create a new, better, more useful habit, then you have to create a new pathway. You're still going to be tempted to go on that old one because it's still there, but if you are consistent, and there is some willpower involved, but mostly, you talked about willpower in there. But mostly if you make a decision that I'm going to try this new thing, and you create small steps that help it be easier for you to take that new pathway, you'll be able to create that new pathway.
A new groove that,
Yeah.
that is more healthy and helpful.
Yeah.
And so when you're a little kid, you can't think along these sophisticated lines
Right.
if I'm going to make a new pathway. But somebody like Christina and Pam come along with all their extensive knowledge, all of their extensive studies, and they put it together, and they are able to read new circuits,
Yeah.
new grooves that are much more healthy and create, turn down the volume on the stress or the anxiety. She talked about
And with no resistance from
Yeah.
the kids, right? It's
They seem to
really,
love it.
Right.
they love it,
Right.
and they're explaining to them, to the best of their ability for wherever the kid's at all along the way, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah. Right.
Something as simple as crawling, right? If you don't go through the crawling process as a baby, that can make some blocks for you that you don't even know are there.
Right.
But it may show up as ADHD. It might show up
Right.
as, all these other things, and we're not linking it back to those neuro pathways, that plasticity of the brain that wasn't allowed to be formed and formed a different kind of pathway. So if we can get rid of that pathway, as Debbie just said, I love that example, and create a new one through movement. Movement can do it, right?
Yeah.
Going back through that crawling process, not necessarily crawling
something
specifically, but
similar.
something similar, depending on their age and where they're, what is best fits them. They can change that pathway. So kids will find they can focus better in school, for example.
It's an interesting story. Many years ago when I was young, my mom helped, many years ago, my mom helped a woman in our town whose son had, I think it was CP, and he was...
Cerebral palsy?
Yeah, and I think that's what it was. If I was probably 8 at the time, but I think that's what it was. And he was not, he really had no ability to move himself, but he was mentally aware, he liked jokes and all this other stuff. So they would put him... It was on a flat bed, and my mother would go and help because they needed 2 people to do it. And one person would turn his head from side to side, and the other person would move the arms and the legs like this, that cross patterning like this.
Huh.
And so this was 40 years ago
Yeah.
Right.
that they were doing this.
They understood
And
it.
they understood it way back then,
That,
too.
yeah, that there was some way to,
Yeah.
that the movement itself really helped the brain become more healthy
Yeah.
Right,
and more
but,
functional.
but that's like in a more extreme situation,
Yes,
right?
an extreme
So we
situation.
weren't understanding it in that all
Right.
of us could use,
Yeah.
I think some of this therapy for sure.
And the other, well, we talked, the 3 tips that she left us with at the end that were very practical was drink more water, the electrolytes and all that fluid, all that extra water and the electrolytes, the way that it's broken down, really is the juice that our neurological system runs on. So drink water.
Can I just add that
Go.
from a
Oh, yeah.
from a physical thing, you literally can look like you've had a facelift if you start drinking water. So if your skin will sag more when you're dehydrated. So if you start drinking more water, it'll actually make you
Okay.
look younger
I didn't know
too. Right?
Drink our water.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah. So the water was one. The other was rubbing your earlobes. She said that all the neurological centers in the body actually have a spot in our earlobes, in our ear pinna, if I remember my nursing terms correctly.
Okay.
Your
So to
entire
kind of-
ear. For the
So
rest
just
of
to
us.
really your ear. So just to rub that or just to pinch it, and it will. What did she say?
She said basically you're giving your entire body a massage.
Hello. That
All in
sounds
your
great.
ears.
Probably
right?
a little
Right.
acupuncture involved.
Little
in there.
acupressure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was
and
the
you can
third-
do that
wasn't there a third
anywhere.
one?
You can do that anywhere, right?
Oh, the
The other one was
cross.
the cross crawl, as they called it, but just crossing over, touching your hand to the opposite.
Outside of your
right
knee.
hand to left knee, left hand to right knee.
Or the elbow.
elbow.
Yep.
You can do it that
And
way.
what that does is it helps, because the brains are separate hemispheres and there's only one small bridge between them. But by using your body in cross functionality like that actually helps the brain communicate better across pathways, so you're a little bit sharper. So I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
The movement therapy that they were talking about, and water therapy. So the water, the pinching your own earlobes, your own ear, and crossing your arms over, and playing a game with somebody
Yeah,
like a
totally.
little kid.
Make a game out of it with a little kid,
Yeah.
and that could be really fun. They actually showed us to this showed this to us off camera. But if you get a little kid and you kind of do what is it, Simon Says kind of thing, touching my left hand, touching my right,
right, or right elbow,
Yeah.
and try to catch one another, and do the mimicking thing and
Yep.
enjoy it. But it actually does some really good brain calisthenics and helps your brain be more malleable in that way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. And they also were very clear that this isn't about children. All of us, all the way up, can actually rewire, regenerate, remove blocks from our brain systems. It's just so fascinating. I can't wait to stop and go on Google and look up some more stuff.
Yeah.
And go on their website, BrainFit Academy.
BrainFitAcademy.com.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
want to check that out.
Yeah, so they were really good. They
Yeah.
were really good. And they're going to come back and talk to us about the emotion code, which is a guy named Dr. Bradley
Nelson.
I always want to say Bradley Cooper, but that's it's an actor, right? Bradley Cooper. But anyway, yeah, Dr. Bradley Nelson developed something called the emotion code, which again is another way of saying there are some emotions that are trapped in the brain that feel real. Like the sadness feels real or the anxiety feels really real, but there's a way to kind of jostle or use that brain plasticity to kind of shift things, and all of a sudden the air goes out of those emotions and they don't nearly have the grip on them. I know you've been doing a lot of work with
I've
it.
been studying, well, not a lot. I'm just starting to learn at this point.
Yeah.
And my sister Karen Cundy, who was a guest earlier,
Yes.
is an emotion code practitioner and has helped hundreds of people. And you can do it remotely. So if you're listening to this and you want to find out more about it, we'll put that in the show notes. Go back to
Yeah.
Karen's episode and get a hold of her, and she can certainly talk to you on the phone or on Skype.
Yeah, about releasing emotions.
Yeah, but the point is, if you have some sort of an emotional block or something like that, and it may be something that happened to you when you were 10 or 7 or 3 or 2 or in utero, or somehow, and I'm not totally sure how this works, it can have happened to your parents, and it could have been passed down to you energetically. And I know we're getting into woo-woo territory here,
Yeah.
but
Well, Pam and Christina talked about it a little bit too. I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense. You're gonna even just pick up on your parents' patterns
You
because
do.
you're around them
You
all the
do.
time, right? And
You do.
throughout your life, and you adapt their approach to life's problems or life's
Right.
path that you're
Well,
on.
I mean, don't we say that in our language? Oh, well, we're the Williams. That's how the Williams roll.
oh yeah.
Well,
sure.
what if this
What if I
piece-
don't want to be like
yeah,
that?
Yeah, or what if this piece of protoplasm happened to be born 3 miles down the road, and I was a Jones and I wasn't a Williams? Would I still be? Do you know, like there's things that we pick up just because we're in that milieu, in that family,
Proximity.
in that house, in that, right. But it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be like that for the rest of my days. And it could be good things too. It doesn't have
Sure.
to be negative things. But it's just very, very interesting. So the emotion code.
The emotion code. And the idea behind the emotion code then is your body tells you what your subconscious mind knows what's wrong, and the emotion code is a way to get at the subconscious mind in order to identify what's wrong, what's the blockage, how can we solve this problem, and then I'm not going to get into all the details because
Right.
I'm not an expert on it at this point.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get to that point, and we'll hopefully get some guests who can get into
Yeah.
some more. But that's the basic idea behind
Right,
it,
right.
is that because we have these emotions that are blocking us, it's difficult to come into who you are fully.
Into
Yes,
who
and
you are.
Pam and Christina talked about that, and they said, that their body work that they were doing kind of addressing these issues from the ground up, so to speak. They said they discovered through their work there was something before that, and so they are practitioners with the emotion code as well.
So they
and-
do so many more, like she said, they pull from all the best of the brain science.
EFT and
Yeah.
Emotional focus, emotional
Freedom
freedom
technique.
technique, which is tapping, for those of you who may know that. Lots of different things that are being done to kind of just to be malleable with the brain. And now that we know that it's entirely possible, there's so many different ways of approaching that, and they've taken the best of the best, and they just are,
helping kids like
having a lot
crazy.
of success
Yeah.
with kids who are just happy to be back in school, happy to be back in their own skin, happy to be on the baseball teams, happy to be picked for all the teams as opposed to be standing on the sidelines because they're riddled with anxiety or they're
Yeah.
riddled with things. And so I've been to their studio. It's really a healing place. It's really cool. It's so practical.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And they found now that they're working with the parents as well,
Yeah.
because the same things apply. We can benefit from these therapies as well. It doesn't have to be just kids. It doesn't, not like our brain becomes, non-malleable at some point in our
Yeah,
life. It's
no.
we're always able to change those pathways, which
Yeah.
is exciting.
Yes.
Exciting.
Yes, yes.
And
And like in my practice, I never start with the kids. And my coaching, I always start with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's an older kid who's interested in working with me, I'll be happy to do that, but I always start with the parents.
Right, right. Because they're in, that's the extension.
Yep.
That's the
right,
extension.
and Pam and Christina said it too. We can do all this work with the kid, but then they go home to potentially a stressful environment,
Right.
and so
You
it
gotta
can
solve
undo
all of those problems.
undo
Good.
some of the work,
Got
and
to address
so,
it.
Yeah,
Have to address it, yeah.
Yeah.
Good,
It's a
good.
360. It's a 360.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough out of us for today.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yes.
so much for joining us, and we are the Mighty Married Moms. I'm Wendy Williams from ConnectAgain.org.
Linda Ty from allwellbreakthroughs.com.
Debbie Owen from YouCanRaiseGreatKids.com.
And please make sure you go on iTunes and share this information. Tell your friends, tell your family about it. Plug it in when you're on the treadmill. Plug it in when you're in the car. And please leave us a rating and review on iTunes because that really helps. And we look forward to coming back again and talking with you some more from MightyMarriedMoms.com. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at MightyMarriedMoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.